someone can get back to me on that detail.
Yep, happy to progress that conversation. In terms of the southern area, you're right, this plan does show the work that we went out to consultation still had a link in opposite McKinney. Through the next round of investigations, we've got to identify exactly where that connection could be. So while it's shown as indicative here, we've got to work through the detail of that. There's quite a number of developments going on in that southern part of Warkworth, and we've got to align with those as well and work with those landowners.
Yeah.
No, it's ridiculous.
In terms of the public transport question, we have identified here a park and ride facility at the connection between the existing State Highway 1 and the new ones, and we're working on providing a bus service utilising the existing motorway, not identified in a separate corridor.
Just seems, I mean, if we're trying to future-proof for public transport, and I know it didn't figure high, but I get asked all the time about public transport, and as you know, there's already a private bus that comes down to Auckland now. There's one a day, and they're full. It just seems to me if we're building a motorway, we should be future-proofing it with a bus lane.
Okay, I'll look at that. I definitely know we're looking at 30-minute services in the future from Warkworth to the south.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Cashmore.
Oh, thank you. No matter what the mode, whether it's combined or it's multi or separate or whatever, one of the criticisms we've been getting is time. So some of these projects have already had a business case put to them. It might be a little bit historic, but there has been business cases for Penlink, for extension of electrification, etc. Looking forward, what sort of timeframes are we about delivering confirmed projects, budgeted or not? And are we going to be able to avoid paralysis by ongoing analysis with just using some of the existing data that we already have?
Pretty well, I've got 3/4.
Through you, Madam Chair, certainly ATAP has given us that priority in the first decade of a number of initiatives through here, and we're working urgently on those priorities, particularly around the release of new housing areas, so tying in with the proposals for the Housing Infrastructure Fund bid as well. So we've certainly got a number of areas, particularly around the Whenuapai, the Red Hills, the Takanini areas and the Pukekohe Pairata areas where the live zoning has come through the Unitary Plan, that we need to make immediate action on that. So that's what we're working on at the moment.
Madam Chair, the point is, I think, and touched on it, is that the connectivity between where consenting what's happening now with stuff being live zoned, the amount of dirt that's going to be shifted, starting very soon, with our lag time for actually provision of the infrastructure required, there is going to be a gap. So the issues we have are probably potentially going to get worse. And are we happy that the work program is going to deliver things quickly enough and in the most effective timeline? I guess I'm looking pretty hard at those two gentlemen to your left. But
Do you want to make a comment on the time?
Sorry, you caught me. Look, I think there's no doubt that we all agree that the gaps are there financially. So I think the common resolve to resolve those and continue with the work that ATAP and Transport for Future Urban Growth have done. And I think the very question you've asked about it, how we don't get paralysed by analysis and just get on with it. So I think you heard from Ernst earlier the resolve from NZTA, which we're seeing in real life in every working group we're in. I think NZTA, MOT, Treasury and ourselves, and you know well from the work you've done through the Auckland Transport Alignment, if we continue the spirit of that and the speed of that, then I think we'll mitigate your concern. And I think we've just got to call each other out if we're allowing ourselves at whatever layer to let this grind to a halt, because we'll pay for it for a long time.
do we understand the level of capacity within the industry to deliver?
I think we understand it more real every day, and we all know there's a lot going on in terms of skill development, labour shortage work and things everywhere. But we also know there's no pixie dust, so I think we just have to long march, hard yards, and grind it out.
But one of the points I'd make, Madam Chair, is that certainty, financial certainty for the construction industry is a crucial part of this. I mean, one of the problems we've potentially had in New Zealand is that we have one-off projects and there's gaps, and there's still payments to be made on very, very expensive toys. So we need a big, long, I guess, project, multi-faceted program that gives the industry certainty from council and from Crown joined up. It's going to be a long-term delivery and attract JVs with some overseas companies with New Zealand or expansion within our existing companies. And to me, that's going to be an absolute critical point we're going to have to really push hard for next term, to have these joined up deliveries stretching out in 10-year or more chunks.
And I think the success I'm seeing at the moment is the join-uppness of the agencies, and I think also, and that's true right through to procurement, in terms of us all having a clear view on how to do that well. The industry's responding to that, I think, is part of your concern as well, and we've got to make it easy for them to do that as much as we possibly can while managing risk.
Yeah. And that,
Madam Chair, if I may just add to that. Councillor, this work is addressing part of your concern, which this is developed as one program. So for the first time, we actually have a nearly $8 billion, and we've approached it as one business case, right, to really short-circuit that. So previously there was a project and another project. Now we have a program. And as Jim said, we're now looking at joint procurement of that. Can we procure that different and fast and actually bundle the projects up together? Whether it's NZTA funded or otherwise, just bundle it up together. Because if we don't do, as Jim suggests, we will not meet the demand. You're quite right.
I've got you, Councillor Lee. Councillor Lee?
Thank you. Just to get back to, I think the whole point of this paper is the public feedback. We had ATAP, the official view, which we dealt with in secret yesterday, but this is really the public, what the public aspires to. And as the Mayor said, the public is obviously very interested nowadays in public transport. But just a couple of questions. Thanks for the report, and there's a lot of graphics here. And as Confucius is reputed to have said, a picture is worth 1,000 words. But we can see from the first histogram how the response from North West, how significant that was. But I'm a little bit curious because it's divided into public and business. And when you try and relate the categories of public to business, you go to regional and you look across, you see golf, or you see North Warkworth and you've got Rodney West or Rodney North. And so therefore, that's not very legible. I'd have to make that point. But just coming on, feedback. This is very important in a democratic body. The people who are paying for all this stuff, what they want. And quite often the public can be right and the officials can be wrong. But in terms of public feedback and the numbers of public providing response, I was significantly higher than a category called business. But I'm sure everyone who was in business is a member of the public too. It's got a family and pays rates and all the rest of it. So I'm not sure about the division here. However, you've got a 35% support for improved rail infrastructure, or services indeed, to Kumu Huapai. I think the infrastructure is actually there, equating to 14%, was it 16% from the green business side of things. So in terms of graphics, it's misleading. I would note, albeit, the very high response from business also for rail services. Just moving on. So if you're going to take this report forward, I think it needs to be a little bit more legible because it's a wee bit visually misleading. We're coming down to south, and I note how important rail to airport is to business. I don't know how that equates to what public are saying. They're talking about prioritise and expand rail or provide faster rail connections, but there's not that connection or joined upness, as the jargon is, relating to these graphs, to give decision makers like us a clear idea. But I think we get the drift. And the importance of public transport and the importance of rail, and in the highest responding area, the importance of getting that track, which is sitting there empty, being used by our surplus diesel rolling stock, to get that, to take the pressure off the roads. This is what the public want and business wants, and I don't believe Auckland Transport is responding, and I think it needs to respond, and I think in the new term, I think the new council will need to send a rocket over to that CCO to get rail services back and moving to Huapai, as was planned up until 2013. I've got to go to another function. Thank you, Madam Chair.
It didn't work out, then, Mike.
There wasn't a question. So, shall we move
pardon,
on?
who said what?
Councillor, Councillor
Sorry?
Darby. Councillor Darby?
I've got to go.
Madam Chair, I just pick up on the points the Mayor made and Councillor Lee, and I think they're valid, made differently, but they are really picking up on the feedback here. I think it's remarkable. We saw the first tranche of feedback saying, you know, it was a chorus, and it was right across Auckland with a little bit less in Warkworth, where there is a feeling of, you know, car dependency. They don't have a rail line coming near them, and they don't have a busway coming near them, and so there's, understandably, there's a future that is a bit more auto-dependent there, and Councillor Webster's reminding us that we need to address that in the future-proofing of the road infrastructure. And I think absolutely correct. I think we all get that. And so I'm pretty conversant with this, and I'm thanking the staff. I'm just wondering, before Councillor Lee departs, whether there's a willingness to explore what the Mayor said and what Councillor Lee says, and I think what many of us are saying, is in the next stage, the staff are going to be, this is not concluded yet, it's iterative and there's further work to do, and you can just see the feedback here, and we've seen it in our annual plan, well actually our 10-year plan, annual plan, it's just heightened. It's the public is saying, bring more of this, please. It's not exclusive. This is not being zealous about it. No. That is just saying, bring us more of this. So the red, I think, belongs to all of us. It's bring us more of this in the final documentation.
And let's be clear about it. I think those graphs are quite misleading, and I hope that's not deliberate, but there's a strong public views that need to be reflected accurately.
Okay, Councillor, you've done well up to now.
I didn't appreciate the comment from one of the managers, and I'll talk to them later about that.
Can I move? Sorry.
Just hang on. Can we just shush for a minute, Councillor? It's not okay to just drop a criticism like that and then leave. I think we will just strike it from whatever records. Councillor Darby, you're happy to move. I'm happy to second. I think those are wise words to add. Any further discussion on that? I will put that. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Against, carried. Can I thank our team for the clear, concise and very legible presentation that they've given to us?
I may have misdirected that comment. It may have come from some... I fulsomely apologise.
No, that's cool.
That's accepted and appreciated. Thank you.
And Madam Chair, could I get you to note, whether it needs to be formally or otherwise, the work that Auckland Transport is doing between Papakura and Pukekohe to try and come up with some solution to the electrification is the very same work that will apply to the areas that are being articulated by others. So I would hate there to be a thought or suggestion in this chamber that work is not being explored. That work is being done as we speak. So we just need to be mindful that opportunities are there for the future already.
Yeah, and I'd like to endorse that, because I think there is a bit of grey between all the ongoing work that's occurring and these programs of work, and the Transport Urban Growth team are very aware of that ongoing work and are assuming that will continue. So I agree with you. I think it's difficult when we only talk about one piece. It is all rolled in there, and we're aware of the south work that will be available for the northwest once the south is electrified.
And may I also, and it might be, and I'm not intending in any way to make things controversial, but with the decision to go with the EMUs, it enabled us to have, and we made a big investment in servicing, and the cost of delivery of these services has been extraordinary.